A tourist agency based in Beijing says it was told by North Korean officials that the North's Day of the Sun is no longer spoken about or celebrated. What does that mean for one of the regime's most salient anniversaries? Let's turn to Bruce Klingner for more. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So the Day of the Sun on April 15th is the day designated by the regime to commemorate the birth of the late founding leader Kim Il-sung. Would you say the North is no longer commemorating the anniversary?
Well, for several weeks, the regime was referring to the holiday as simply April 15th or the April holiday instead of the Day of the Sun. And the Day of the Sun had been a reference to Kim Il-sung and was used as a way of revering the sort of the godlike figure in North Korea. And it was perceived as a way of Kim Jong-un replacing his father and his grandfather's personality cult with one of his own. And recently we'd seen that Kim felt bold enough to criticize the unification policy of his predecessors and abandon them, and even destroy the reunification arch, which his father had overseen the construction of. So this was seen as a way of Kim becoming bolder, more confident in his own role, and not simply acting on the policies of his predecessors. Now, however, on April 15th, Yonhap reported that North Korean media, including Nodong Shinmun, had again referred to the day as the Day of the Sun. So we're a bit puzzled, but it was earlier seen as a way of Kim Jong-un eclipsing the Day of the Sun with his own personality cult.
Then I have to ask you, why the sudden change? I mean, they've been calling it the Day of the Sun for years, but why now?
Well, we're not sure of the reversion back to the Day of the Sun.
Right.
But certainly, I think that if we take a step back, the overall trend has been when Kim Jong-un first came into power over a decade ago, he clearly aligned himself not only with his father, but even more so with his grandfather, even imitating his dress, his haircut, his mannerisms, because Kim Il-sung was much more revered in North Korea than Kim Jong-il. But over the years, it seems that Kim Jong-un has become more confident, and as I said, they abandoned the unification policies. And while not undercutting the legacy of his predecessors, he doesn't necessarily refer to them as often as the past. So, he's been in power for over a decade, so he clearly is confident in his own abilities and has adopted his own policies, going even beyond those of his father and his grandfather.
Right, that does look like the case. Now, is this an unusual move by the North? I mean, has the North done similar in the past?
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing that. I believe it was 1997 that Kim Jong-il created this Day of the Sun moniker as a way of revering his father and really instilling this sense of a godlike figure. So since then, I think North Korea has continued to refer to it as the Day of the Sun. It was a major holiday, as well as a way of reinstilling loyalty by the North Korean populace with the North Korean leadership.
Right, and on top of that, what we've been following in the past few weeks is the North's space missions, including its second spy satellite launch. Now, North Korea over the weekend reiterated its commitment to launching more reconnaissance satellites this year on top of the first one back last November. Now, is this a sign that its second launch attempt is imminent?
Well, we're never really sure when they're going to do something, even if we're pretty sure they are going to do something. So, for example, it's been over 2 years that the U.S. and South Korea first said that a seventh North Korean nuclear test was imminent. So we expected it's going to happen. We're just not sure of the timing. With the reconnaissance satellites, and I used to be a CIA imagery analyst, so imagery satellites are not geostationary. They do have to go in a polar orbit so that as they pass over a country, then they move westward to image other countries. So in order to have greater imagery coverage of, say, South Korea or the United States, North Korea would have to have several satellites up at the same time because they would be passing over a landmass at different times. So the regime has said they're going to launch, I believe, 3 more satellites this year, and that would give them greater imagery coverage of South Korea, the United States, Japan, or elsewhere.
Right. Last but not least, a North Korean delegation visited Iran last week, which many analysts saw as an opportunity for military cooperation to be discussed, just like with Moscow. Now, other experts also mentioned the North is trying to create this solidarity and a circle of friends against the U.S. Is this the case?
Well, the North Korean delegation that went to Iran was an economic delegation, and it was the highest level in 5 years. So ostensibly, they didn't talk about, or that delegation didn't talk about military cooperation. In a way, just as when we've seen the North Korean Russian interaction, we don't know what North Korea is getting in return for all the ammunition and missiles that is provided to Russia, whether it's just economic assistance, financial assistance, food and fuel, or whether there's a behind-the-curtains exchange of military technology or weaponry. Certainly, North Korea and Iran, as well as Russia, have been engaging in military cooperation for quite some time. And with Iran, it's been missile transfers predominantly for decades, initially selling missiles and then missile technology to enable Iran's indigenous missile production. So we believe there's a lot of interaction between Tehran and Pyongyang, as well as now China and Russia. So it is a axis of evil or axis of authoritarianism, and it's worrisome to South Korea, the United States, and other democratic nations.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You enjoy the rest of your weekend there.
Thank you very much.